Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Next Level Podcast. I'm Carm, and this podcast is a great part of your balanced breakfast. Joined always by my lovely and talented co-host FFXI. How are we doing today?
Doing well. How are you, Carm?
I'm doing great. I'm honestly feeling pretty good. I've been trying to cut out the soda in my life and work out a little bit more, so taking my own personal health to the next level, if you will.
Very good.
But
I
today,
actually cut out soda myself too. Oh, it's been a nightmare. On the opposite end, though.
yeah, I mean, it's been kind of a struggle. I'm actually having dreams about soda every once in a while, but we won't go into my nightmares. Um, Today, we will be talking about a guest requested topic of the 99 to 119 and how to progress yourself into endgame. We're joined today by the Master of Ceremonies himself, he who comes in and tells us all about the updates. You've heard about him on our podcast. You've probably seen his name across. He is the bard that everyone dreams to be. Funkworkz, how are you today, sir?
Oh, quite the intro. I'm doing quite well myself. I appreciate you guys asking me to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. You're the first and the premier guest we've ever had, so relish that.
I need a trophy to hang on my wall now.
I'll actually have a plaque sent to you next week.
Oh, please do.
All right. So moving right into the episode, we're going to talk about kind of this progression that is the level. Once you hit level 99, what do I do next? Because there's so many different things you can do and so many different challenges that come along the way, from getting that fresh 99 to how do I take part in endgame? How do I really become part of this game and part of this whole process that is endgame? I remember my kind of intro to endgame. I came back and I had quit for a while. Wasn't really working out with my time schedule, stuff like that. Came back and was able to kind of jump in at the end of it was kind of towards the end of Omen really being a big standard event. Dynamis Divergence was still going on, and it was a big name event. Esha, Rise and Jima were the big things going on around the time that I came back. So it was, I really got a lot of stuff thrown at me. Claire was actually really, really influential in getting me up to speed in everything that I did. And I would pop on and she was like, she had this list of every time I logged on, there was just this bullet point list of things that we needed to do today. And this is how we were going to progress. And this is what we were going to do. So not everybody has that luxury of somebody who cares that much on how to get your character up to eye level.
Gosh, you make my list sound like they're a terrible thing, by the way. Logging in, and there's just this laundry list of things you had to do.
To be fair, most of the time in the 75 era, when I logged on and you said, Karm, we have things to do today, they typically involved me dying.
I mean, don't they still?
Moving on!
But what's nice is that there's been people on BG Wiki making helpful guides for people as well, too. So if you don't have that one person, if you're a returning player, there's the Returning to Vana'diel guide. And if you're a brand new player that isn't quite sure what to do, there's the Quick Start from 1 to 119 guide that is very helpful. The Quick Start 1 to 119 guide was made by Spicy Ryan. Spicy Ryan also worked on the Return to Vana'diel guide with help from other people within the BG Wiki community.
Including the Master Funkworkz himself. I mean, there just truly is a great community in this game that is very dedicated to kind of putting together these guides and helping new players and wanting to see this game grow. All of this is community driven. It's not like we just sit back and hope that SE wants to drive the game. No, this is the community driving that force that says, hey, let's get this game going. Let's get these new people involved. Let's help them get into actually becoming players that understand the game and understand all the different things going on. Funk, if you want to comment some more on the guides from BG Wiki.
Yeah, I think the basis around them was we see people posting on Reddit on auction house, come back to the game, what should I do? It makes it much more sense just to have one centralized guide in one location for each basic topic instead of having to type things over and over again. Things get misconstrued over different posts. So it's best just to have huge guides. Sometimes they can feel very overwhelming. But that's why they're there. You can always go back and Control F to find certain topics, things that you're looking for. But the more members who contribute to them, the better off they end up being. And the more time that passes, the more we can contribute to them as well.
Yeah, BG is one of those things that's just getting constantly updated and constantly better over time as we learn about new things, even as we're learning more about Odyssey V20 and things like that. I think most people have it figured out by now. But we're still just updating these guides, updating everybody's runs, finding new different ways to do different content, like the ambuscades that happen monthly that are getting harder and more challenging and adding new mechanics. So if you haven't checked out BG Wiki and you want to learn about this game, there's a lot of information on BG Wiki for you to learn as far as guides to your specific job you're playing. Basic guides kind of like this one, where we're just going through what progression you should take. And of course, this is still just a guide. You can take any route you want. The end result is still the same.
One thing I wanted to mention as well is if you come across an item in the game, you don't know what it's for, you can feel free to ask your link shell. But if you don't want to continue to ask, what's this for? What's that for? What's this piece of armor for? Is this any good? It's always recommended to look it up first, because we always say what it's for and what it's used for and where it's from.
Yeah, one of the big things that I recommend people to do is, even if you have a link shell and you joined with friends, is that your link shell one. We have 2 link shell slots now. Pick up a random link shell from the concierge that usually these link shells have put on their description, hey, looking to help new players, helping to do this, helping to do that. So there are these link shells. I know they're here in Asura. We enjoy helping in our link shell as well, but I don't know how crowded the concierge is on Funk, but
one thing I noticed is each concierge has different stock, and you can get 1 pearl per event deal a day, I believe. So make sure to check all 3.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Actual concierge on BG, and you can see the locations.
I actually didn't know that. I haven't really used the concierge much, but that's pretty cool.
And it also depends on people stocking it. So sometimes the pearls run out. So check it every couple of days. You might see something new there.
Yeah, I was about to mention that myself. Is when I was putting link shells in there for a previous link shell I ran, you do have to go to each individual concierge to restock them. So you can't just pick one and hope it goes to the other ones. You do have to go to each of them.
And they do not reset over each server maintenance anymore. They used to reset every time.
Even I'm learning today. This is great. Love it.
They get PhD in no time.
I also wanted to mention that there's a couple of YouTubers that also do post some helpful guides. You have Next Games. While he does also play other games from other than Final Fantasy, he does have a bunch of useful ones, including the Make Final Fantasy XI Beautiful, which he just did a 2022 video as well too. And then you also have Ruamoko that does a lot of job-specific guides, and then also he'll do some on ambuscades or other events and content.
It is worth subscribing to all 3 of those with the YouTube account.
Yeah, they definitely are constantly coming out with new ideas. And one of the things that I've enjoyed from Ru as well is even he takes the time to even sit there and theory craft about how he thinks some jobs could be fixed. And even if you don't agree with every one of his opinions, it's still kind of interesting to me to see other people's opinions on what a job could do, theory craft on the different ways that a job could be fixed, per se. I do that in air quotes, not that anybody can see it, but I did it in air quotes just kind of to get the dramatic feel.
Also,
so getting into the meat and potatoes, getting into the meat and potatoes of this whole thing, like one of the first things that I recommend people to do once they jump in to this whole 119 or 99 to 119 experience is kind of start building up your trusts. Trusts are one of those things that can really make or break your experience. I mean, you're not always going to have a link shell behind you to back you up and all this stuff. So getting those trusts and finding time where you can play on your own time and do different things with your trust can really helpful.
And speaking of trust, you have the Spring Alter Ego Expo going on right now. And for those that don't know, if you go to BG Wiki at the very bottom of the page, you'll be able to see all the ongoing and upcoming events. And you'll see the event guide for the Spring Alter Ego Expo as well, too, on where you can get certain trusts during this time.
There are also many from the login campaign right now.
Yes, that's also true. There is a whole bunch from the login campaign.
Game is really just over time been really, really friendly to people jumping in. I mean, the Ultimate Collection is on sale for like $10 right now. So you can have, I think that's every single expansion, and you get the beret and you get the Chocobo shirt to help you get through the early game even better. So even if you haven't picked up the game, it's pretty nice and quick and easy going to really start working on this game. It's a great time to be involved.
For sure, even working on the storyline missions, that can actually help you towards the end part of this towards this game, because every time you finish a storyline mission, you can go into Records of Eminence and mark off all of the missions you completed, and at the very end, you get a 10% increase to your capacity bonus.
One thing I ran into the other day that I didn't actually know the answer, maybe you guys know. I met somebody who was on the free trial. Do they get to keep that character at the end of the free trial, or do they have to remake when they buy the actual game itself?
They can keep the character, but it's very tricky because the Square Enix account system is hard to navigate. So there's been many times where I've seen people say they accidentally made a new Play Online ID with their code instead of upgrading their trial account.
Gotcha. So definitely read the fine print.
Usually Square Enix can help you with that if you call them, but it's not worth the hassle, so just be very careful.
Yeah, we all know support desks aren't exactly the most fun thing in the world to deal with. But it was kind of fun, just like getting together with somebody who was returning to the game and went through the free trial. I think I don't know how long the free trial's going for right now, but it's out there for people to try out the game again. And it's kind of crazy to think about a 20-year-old game offering a free trial again. To me, that just is kind of like, wow, cool. We're still growing new people. We're still getting new people into this game, and who knows how long we could push on for.
So the free trial is unlike the 14 free trial. That one, I think it's up to level 50 or 60 or something like that. But this one is set 14 calendar days.
Oh, okay.
So if you go and you can start the free trial by going to the Square Enix store, or you can go to BG and click and type in free trial. There's also a little button thing you can click there. It says free trial. There is lots of limitations, like you can't use the auction house, you can't party, you can't shout, a bunch of things. You can't trade. It's basically to combat RMT. So it's a very restrictive free trial. But if you play your whole 14 days, after your 14 days, you can have the game code, which you can buy now. It's on sale for $10 for everything. Have your game code, you can put that in for 30 free days. So you basically have 45 free days before you have to pay, actually start playing the game to pay it. But after you upgrade to your 14-day free trial to your actual game trial, you have everything unlocked. You don't have any more restrictions.
That's a good reminder, because I know I've seen people with the trial flag next to their name. And I always feel bad because I always want to send them a tell to try to help them out. And it's like, oh no, I have to do everything in say, because that's the only way they can communicate with actual players on the servers that they are doing their trials on, is if they type in say, people will be able to actually communicate with them, because they can't do tells either.
I was able to invite them to party. I ran them through like past a Bosedine Glacier or something. It was something easy, and it was a red mage, and I'm like, don't you have Sneak and Invisible? They're like, no, I don't have the guild for it yet. So I went and bought them the scrolls, and I was like, oh crap, I can't trade you because you're a free trial member. But we were still able to be in party. I was still able to give them sneak and invis and run them through everything. So it was kind of a fun thing.
If you haven't played Final Fantasy VII before, no, you can't throw it on the ground. They can't pick it up.
Oh yeah, like a Diablo 2 or 3 reference where
Yeah.
you just drop it and they can grab it. Yeah.
All I thought about was the Lonely Island video. I threw it on the ground. I have serious problems.
That's okay. But if we are getting back in regards to people that are playing and enjoying the game and have gotten through all of, at least from level 1 to 99, something also to think about while you're doing those leveling at 75, you gain access to merits. And it might seem like a silly concept, but you will want to merit your merits so that way you can hold on to more merits. And this becomes very, I want to say crucial, but not really crucial when you start getting into more of the end game content, trying to do high tier battlefields to where you could do them more often without having to restock your merits.
Yeah, it's a very big slog to do all those. It takes so many merits to upgrade, but it's definitely worth it. The maximum you can have is 75.
Yeah, but it's definitely worth it. I mean, all the extra, especially for me, one of the biggest things that I've loved is meriting spell interruption rate. If you're tanking at all and you want to be able to be at that cap for spell interruption rate, you want that extra 10 because it's just so nice to have. The enmity merits used to be like a big thing back in the day as well. You either had plus enmity or you had minus enmity, but now they kind of just negate each other out.
Yeah, I remember depending on what job I was doing at the time, I would switch my merits, the enmity merits, between either positive or negative. So if I was playing White Mage, I'd have them in the negative side. And then if I was playing Warrior, I'd put them in the positive side. So that way I would have more enmity than the black backline mages.
Now that's next level. Actually, like micromanaging your merits per party back in the 75 day. Who does these things?
I remember a lot of people did it on Red Mage, depending on what spells they needed, or on Summoner, whichever blood packs you needed to have more umph into.
Yeah, I have heard of that one before. You have to use to like, I mean, I guess you still have to kind of guess on Red Mage which ones you want as far as Ice, Light, Dark, or Ice, and all which element you want to prioritize.
The enmity merits in that category were really a pain back in the day. So if you had Paladin and you also had a Mage, you can't really do either because you screwed over on one of those jobs.
Yeah, that's where I was saying I would decrease it, even though, because I had Bard, so merit parties weren't so bad to get back in the 75 days. So switching between the two, but I would have to like think what I was going to on events for a while. But also with merits, once you get to 99, you can unlock the ability to obtain capacity points on the specific job that you're playing. We know that Spicy Ryan has a guide on BG Wiki called The Fantastic EXP and where to find them. It's not fully up to date, but it does give you a generalized idea of where some of the camps are that you could get capacity points at. Some of these camps are pretty busy. I know on Asura, Doe Gates is overwhelmed, not only with just people trying to get capacity points, but there's also bot camps there too. I don't know what it's like on Sylph, but there are a few different camp options that you can go to. I know there's a Ruamoko video as well too, where he talks about some of the higher level camps.
There's 482 people on right now, so it's probably not very busy.
Yeah, Doe Gates is one of the most, to me, one of the saddest zones to walk through in Asura, just because there's a lot of people not playing the game. And what we want to emphasize with this podcast and with these guides is there's a lot to be experienced. You're not going to experience this buying content and doing things like that. So take the time and really experience this game, because at the end of the day, you're spending money on this game. Experience it, play it, make your experience the best you can. Don't just like sit back and watch somebody else play, because you can do that on Twitch.
It also allows you to be able to learn your job a lot better too, because there's sometimes abilities that you don't see people using because they're either new or they just don't know what they exactly do. And being able to play the job and experience what each of these job abilities can do for you, or what the weapon skills can do, can help further down the line as well too. Or when you're looking at some of these job guides and they're like, hey, this equipment is really good for this specific job ability, you can go, oh, okay, I know what that does sound great, it does enhance it more. Or in regards to spells, there's certain spells that are enhanced by certain stats or attributes, and being able to find the difference on what actually helps out your spells versus just going, oh, I read this one guide, and I'm not exactly sure what it exactly does, but this person said it was great, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah, there are job guides for pretty much every job. They're all updated for the most part. Some are pretty old. Like, I don't think there's a new Scholar guide. But most of them offer people a good starting point to go through and then progress onwards. So it definitely is worth checking out depending on which job you want to focus on.
And always keep an open mind when you're looking at these guides as well. They're just guides. It's not a 100%. There is no best in slot in this game. There is no the one way to play this game. This game is what you make of it. So when you're looking at these guys, try to look at them as ideas, not so much as this is the way to do this.
Well, let's say we have somebody who's fresh in 99 and they're kind of wondering what equipment they should go for first. And one of my suggestions that I usually have is start with Sparks gear. If you did the Records of Eminence starting to point where you start obtaining sparks, you can actually turn those sparks into equipment and be able to have immediate eye level gear to start fighting some of the higher content above 99.
Yeah, you really want to go through your Records of Eminence log and kind of try to get all the rewards and all the completion that you can on that. One of the guides, I think it's the 1 to 119 guide, says that you should start once you hit 99, you start doing the intermediate objectives and stuff like that. So you're really starting to understand and get the things that the game wants you to have at this level.
There is a set of ROE. I think that's what you mentioned. It's the intermediate ROE quests.
Yeah.
So if you type in intermediate ROE on BG, there is a guide by Batcher of Asura. He talks about how to complete all of these ROE. It gives you coupons where you can redeem at a Moogle, and it will give you gear.
Can't tell. We really like BG Wiki. It's our friend.
BG Wiki is our friend. It has a lot of information and it's very helpful. And it is all done by the community. You can even get people that are brand new that are like, hey, I'm going through these missions and I noticed this is slightly off. You can even make an account and try to update it as well too. So that way it can help future new players in regards to this content.
There are some pages that are restricted. For instance, you can't edit the 1 to 119 guide because it's so used. So we do restrict that one so people don't plagiarize it, basically. But most of these other guides can be updated. It's kind of frowned upon to update guides by certain people, but you can always suggest an edit. And we'll certainly, like if it's a typo, you can go ahead and fix it, no problem at all. But majorly changing a guide probably isn't what you should do.
Oh, sorry.
But if you want to make your own guide, it's okay.
I wasn't trying to say like they should go into these guides that people have put their heart and souls in and start making changes to those. It's more like if, like you say, they see errors, or if they're working on a mission and they go, oh, that NPC isn't quite at that particular section, they can like update the coordinates of where that NPC might be, sort of thing.
Oh, feel free to edit any kind of mission pages, anything like that. Like guides made by somebody, that is basically their own work. But you can edit any kind of page you want. If you ever have questions about editing, you can always ask me as well. I'm happy to teach people. The more people who contribute, the better off it will be and help others.
Yeah, and most of the people that are doing all these edits and all the stuff on BG Wiki and creating these guides and stuff like that, they're really, really helpful. They're not hard to approach as far as like, oh my gosh, I can't approach this person. They're the famous person and everything else. I mean, I had never met Martel in my life. And I just randomly sent him a message on Discord one day. He didn't know who the heck I was, of course. But I was like, hey, I saw this thing happening on Paladin where I equipped the earring and the ring that affect Protect and Shell, and all of a sudden I'm not getting any augments at all. And of course, I didn't approach it that way at first because I was like, what the heck is going on? I was really confused about why my extra buff to Protect was going away. And through testing and everything like that, me and Martel figured out that, hey, oh, by the way, when you have both of them on, you don't gain the buff from on Protect anymore. So, and we added that to BG Wiki. So it was kind of one of those things where it's easy to approach these people and easy to ask questions as long as you do it in the right manner.
As a fresh 99, it's always best because every month for quite a long time, Square Enix has been doing monthly campaigns for adventurers. And it's always good to focus on these because it gives you boosts in a huge variety of content. Though almost everything that's covered and somehow boosted. But it's called the Adventure Monthly Campaigns. So there always is a breakdown. If you type in, I think it's Adventurer Campaigns. On the very top, we always list the ones that are currently ongoing. So if you click each one, it'll send you to a section of that big page that says what the campaign is about, what happens, what you can gain from it, what the changes are. It's always usually the 10th to the last day of the month is when they run. Those days also vary, so just be aware of that.
Yeah, and almost every event and way to progress yourself from 99 to 119, almost every event I think that we cover, aside from finally Odyssey, has been involved in one of these events, in one of these campaigns. So they are constantly helping you on this progression from 99 to 119. The game wants to see people succeed.
Yeah, I know one of the events that I always try to catch people on when they're working on getting their Empyrean upgrades for their job is the one in regards to the seal drops, because usually it has the BCNM upgrades as well too. One that I usually recommend is the Zealous Orb to do Jurassic Park, because it drops an item called a Kupo Eye Card. And these Kupo Eye Cards you can trade to a dealer Moogle in any of the starting nations. And what it'll do is you can choose what job and then what piece you're wanting specific seals for to upgrade your Empyrean. And that'll give you the full amount for that piece. So let's say you're trying to upgrade your Empyrean hat. It'll give you 8 seals for that job's hat. Or if you're doing the body, it'll give you 10 seals. So that way you don't have to worry about going into Abyssia, having the yellow procs to make seals drop at a higher rate. You can use these seals once that campaign's going on. But sadly, it's one of those that has already ended, so you won't be able to get it this round. But in the future, you might be able to see it come back up and take advantage of that.
Because Empyrean Plus 2 is coming out in July, they probably will run the campaign in July as well.
Oh, that's true, yeah. I'm so excited about that, by the way. I'm so excited about the Empyrean gear getting upgraded.
I'm just excited about new content on a 20-year-old game. I really am. Like, it's just, I talk about it all the time, but it's so just mind-blowing to me that we're still getting this constant content and these constant updates on a 20-year-old game.
Oh yeah, speaking of JSE armor, while it was old equipment that had come out during the 75 era being your artifact relic gear, they're all still very relevant if you get them upgraded by Monoset. So definitely take a look into how to do the upgrade process and just doing those quests or doing original Dynamis to obtain your relic so that way you can get that upgraded. Because I know on most of my jobs, I use a lot of my AF relic and even my Empyrean gear for either macro pieces or full-on builds.
Depending on how long it's been since you've played, you have mod coupons now, or not mod coupons, storage slips. So if you go to Dynamis to get your AF or relic, that is, I'll throw all the relic that you don't need on this mod slip, and then you can, if you ever play a job, you'll have it all ready for you. No reason to go back into Dynamis. it's kind of silly to throw things away if you can just store them without any space consequences.
Also, if you're an older player, don't forget to check the original storage NPC. There's one in Lower Juno, I believe is where he is, where he will store full sets. So I know I found a full set of White Mage AF on him. So they won't come up if you do item search in the game. You will have to go up to that NPC, but he'll tell you anything that you had stored in him.
Yeah, I remember that NPC when it was first introduced. It was kind of useful because you could store like Noct set, the Shadow set, I believe. Like you have to store a full set. You can't store a single piece.
Yes.
So it was a very early development thing they added, but it was pretty useful back then. But you always forgot you had them because it gives you a key item claim slip.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. I remember that.
Not gonna lie, to this day I forgot that existed.
I should go see what his name is, though, so that way I can at least give you guys the name.
But yeah, going kind of back to the AF Relic Empyrean stuff, if you did just go the grind straight 1 to 99 and didn't stop to quest your AF gear, make sure you quest that. It's still the only way to get the AF gear is through those quests. But the Relic definitely is... It's worth going into these Dynamis zones and just keeping all the random drops you have, because it's not the way Dynamis used to be if you used to play, where it's a huge lockout and all these other things, but once you get through and have access to Dynamis, you're able to just go in there and farm as much as you want. You can also farm currency to either sell for gil or making Rimas and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different things with Dynamis. So make sure that you pick up all those pieces.
And if you feel like you dropped your AF and because you've already completed the quest and you just didn't have inventory to hold on to your AF during that time, there is a memory reset NPC also in Lower Juno. They're in the magic shop, and they will erase your memory of doing your AF quest so that way you can reobtain them.
I had to remember back when Limbus was introduced, when you upgraded a +1 piece, you could no longer store your other pieces on that claim slip NPC. So very often we had to reset our memories just to get what piece you upgraded to store the whole set.
Yeah,
that was such a pain.
And the NPC is named Karuvinda, and he is in Lower Juno near the Guidestone.
That's the storage NPC, right?
Yeah, that's the storage slip NPC.
It also is worth doing these quests because there's always like the whole quest line is a really fun lore quest centered around a certain person, that's around a certain event. So it's always fun to do all these just for other jobs.
I remember the Bard one being so scandalous. I was like, ooh, Bard's trying to get into some no business.
Yeah, Paladin was my first one I did it. The fight was actually pretty challenging for level 60 to get that body. Yes,
absolutely. Also, when you're going through your records of eminence, make sure you're doing your monthlies as well. The deeds of heroism are really, really impactful. As you start, you can get 40 of them a month. The monthlies reset, and you can only do these once a month to get these deeds of heroism, but you can get everything from Mars orbs to AF +1/+2 pieces right off the bat. You can get Relic +1/+2 pieces. There's a specific trust that's in there, like, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
His name is Mombaro, and he is amazing.
Yeah, I just recently got him, and it's been really fun to just kind of play around with that and just all the different things you can get from heroism. And like I said, this game really does a lot to help you progress and help you just move with your progression.
You can type in deeds in the search bar at BG. You can see the whole thing we're talking about here. It has lists out every single thing that is available. Another thing to note is at 170, which is, I believe that is the 5th month you're doing these straight, you can get a coupon W pulse weapon. So you can get a pulse weapon to upgrade your ambuscade weapon, which we'll talk about later on.
Spoiler alert.
So it's highly suggested though that you do these deeds. It's 40 per month you can do, which is 4 quests or ROE per month, a real life month.
None of them are really hard. Most of them are pretty simplistic as far as like doing stuff in your mog garden, gardening in your mog house, doing basic. I think this month or last month was. Oh gosh, I'm completely spacing the name of the things that you have to do in a dueling for.
Like one was just to watch a chocobo race.
Yeah, the chocobo race. But what in the world
Doing
are
a
those things you never do
coalition.
on? Thank you. The things you never do on Claire. That one. I knew what they were. But yeah, like last month was do a coalition, do a high tier battlefield, all these different things that once again will help you get. And you don't even have to do the high tier battlefields on VD. You can do them on VE. Just run right through it, get your deed, and be happy.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't let the high tier battlefields intimidate you just because they say they're a high tier battlefield. You can complete that heroism with just doing very easy and just going in and killing the mob.
Take your trust.
Yay, trust.
One thing with trust we didn't mention is joining a unity to have a unity or a trust leader. Some of the trust leaders are really, really helpful. One of the two that come to mind are Sylvie. I love Sylvie. She's a geomancer. She helps me out tons. I play a lot of tank jobs, so she always haste caps me like by herself. So I can't talk enough about Sylvie. She'll also cure you. It's a lower threshold than most of the healers, so I don't suggest you taking her as a healer, but she's a really good trust as well. But there's also Aparuru, which a lot of people do for the beginning. It's probably the most used trust on Asura for just a baseline healer that really does a good job.
Yorin also another big one. He's another healer trust. He does more single target cures, while Aparuru will do more AoE cures. Some other things to talk about, like we were discussing with the AF Relic and Empyrean, in order to get those upgrades through Monoset, you'll want to start looking into Macrocosmic Orbs. They drop chapters 1 through 5, as well as some additional eye level equipment that you can use to kind of help stepping stone your way up towards the other more endgame equipment as well, too.
And all these Macrocosmic Orbs, just like the high tier battlefields, have different levels of difficulty. So even if you can't go in and do VD and knock out 4 chapters in one go and be like this cool person in la-di-da-di-da, you still have the ability to do this on as you progress and just get chapters. There's also login points. I think the chapter login points is this month as well. Maybe?
If the chapters aren't available, some people go to get them from the ROE NPC, but they do cost a lot. I think it's 7,500 each sparks per chapter, which is quite a lot just for a new player. I do recommend buying the Kindred Seals from the login campaign if you had nothing else to buy. They're 10 each, and you can get a lot more seals for your money or for your points by buying the seals from the logging campaign and using that to buy the Macrocosmic Orbs.
Yep, and just to confirm, there are chapters through the login points, but kind of to agree with Funk, they are better to just buy the seals and then do the Macrocosmic Orbs because it's 300 points per one chapter for 1 through 5 and 750 for 6 through 10, which is the later on +1 upgrades. But they do give you a lot more doing the actual Macrocosmic Orbs or high tier battlefields.
And with all the new campaigns and the Return to Vanadil stuff going on, there's probably someone out there like you who is trying to get these chapters and trying to do these things. And I mean, even if you don't have the confidence to lead a group, even throwing a yell out that says, hey, I need help doing this, there's bound to be someone, I can't say bound to be, but maybe there will be somebody who is willing to help you as well. So throw yourself out there, grab a link shell, make some friends, stuff like that.
So you can definitely search for Macrocosmic Orb on BG, and you can see what we're talking about here. There's links to on every single page. Like if you search Sacred Kindred Crest, there's links to the Macrocosmic Orbs and how to redeem them. But there's also links. So if you have an inventory woes, if you search, for instance, Beastman Seal, you can see which NPC will store this item for you, so you don't have to have your inventory clogged with items. It's like if you search Fire Crystal, there's a new NPC that stores crystals for you in all the guilds called the Ephemeral Moogle.
And the Ephemeral Moogle will hold up to 5,000 of each crystal.
What's cool is that if you ask for 12 back, it gives you a cluster instead of a crystal.
It's a lifesaver for anyone that decides to do crafting in this game.
Just don't throw them away. Just go trade them to the Moogle real quick, and there'll be a rainy day where you might need one.
Yeah, you can also trade the crystals to the translocators, or the little things in Adulan. Man, I have really spacing the name of everything today.
The waypoints?
Yeah, the waypoints in Adulan to be able to transport around and stuff like that.
You get more kinetic units from creating clusters rather than crystals to those waypoints,
really?
By the way.
I'm learning all kinds of things today.
Yep.
Also, you do get more. This is if you have extra gil laying around. There are boxes that you can buy HQ crystals from, and those will also give you more trading to the waypoint than even the clusters.
The boxes are in they're in the chateau, right?
There's one.
And they're in Metalworks.
There's one in Chateau, one in Metalworks, and then one in Heaven's Tower. The one in Heaven's Tower is near QPP. The one in Chateau is near Halver. And then the one in Metalworks, it's kind of in a weird spot. It's down. So if you go to Home Point 2 and then run straight across, they're a little bit down from there. They're kind of the only one that's in an obscure area.
They originally were put there for the in-game weddings, but people use those crystals for crafting and other purposes.
Yep.
Hunk, are you married in-game?
I was married way back in the day when the GM had to actually do it for you. The first time.
Really? That's so cool.
Also, if you're looking for people, there's a lot of blue mages that'll do an event called Alluvian Skirmish, which has some really nice starter eye level equipment that you can augment with stones that you get through Alluvian Skirmish, which if you type in Alluvian Skirmish armor, you can find that on BG Wiki, all the different augments for each of the different sets that you can get in there. And they're really nice. I know starter phalanx sets for paladins can be in there. You can make range sets for samurai if you want. Snapshot builds for rangers also are a really good starter there.
The event's a lot of fun as well. I remember the first time I did Alluvian Skirmish, and I thought it was so fun. I don't know why I just got so excited doing the event, but it was a really fun event. It got old after the 19th time doing it or something, but the first time you do it, and it's just so different than anything else in the game, and you're just sending these armies towards the other side, and it's this battle royale, and I thought it was fun.
But it's a great place for blue mages to learn their dual element spells, so Spectral Flow, Tenebral Crush, those all can be learned through the elementals in Alluvian Skirmish. So usually if you shout that you want to do this event, you can probably find a couple of blues that are willing to tag along just so they can learn spells and you can get equipment. And then another Adulan type event you can do is Reeves. So whether it's the Colonization Reeves, Wildkeeper Reeves, or Layer Reeves, these specific Reeves can drop your job-specific capes, and then you can use those capes to be augmented with refractive crystals, and some of those capes are still really good and used on jobs today.
Even with Ambuscade capes, they do offer unique stats you can get with them.
I remember how many refractive crystals I had to put in my Paladin cape for Phalanx +5. Oh, that one was pain.
I remember using my Geomancer Cape for the longest time before Ambuscade came out, but even when Ambuscade first came out, it was still a struggle to make one full cape at the time, so I used it until I finally was able to replace it, which was far off. But on Red Mage, having the elemental the enfeebling magic skill is very important, as there's not much of that on any other capes.
Yeah, and the Rune Fencer one is really good too with Embolden Plus.
The Bard one's kind of meh these days. Used to be really good, but it's not that good anymore.
Yeah, so some jobs have been kind of outgrown their original JSE cape from the Adulan era, but I mean, they're still good pieces for moving along until you can start really building these capes from Ambuscade.
Yeah, speaking of Ambuscade, there's a lot of really good starter gear from Ambuscade once you've kind of built your way up. Even if you have to do Volume 2 Ambuscade to start building up points, the equipment getting that started will help you progress even further with doing the normal quality to eventually getting it +2'd. I mean, I still use some of my +2 equipment from Ambuscade on jobs I currently play.
The Volume 2 is nothing to like look down on yourself about, and it's where we all had to start. I mean, even using Truss in there is now a viable option with some of the gear sets that we have, and even starting out using Truss for Volume 2, it's still a way to go about this so that you get those points, and the game once again rewards you just for getting total hallmarks and stuff like that, so you're able to get these vouchers that you can trade in for gear pieces. So you really start building these sets up pretty quickly.
And like Funk mentioned earlier, if you build up your Deeds of Heroism to get that pulse weapon, and you've worked on Ambuscade and built up an Ambuscade weapon, you can use that pulse weapon that you got from Deeds of Heroism to make the final stage of your Ambuscade weapon.
The Ambuscade weapons are really, really good. I mean, most of them are just incredibly good weapons. There's not anything else to say about them. They come with a weapon skill. I mean, Nagling's one of the best swords in the game right now. You've got Lycurgos, which is really good for rune fencers and anybody else who wants to use a great axe. It's just a really strong option. Shining one's really good. I just finished my magic accuracy bow for Red Mage, so it's also the way that Ninja can use bow and arrows. So heck yeah.
You also have Karambit, which is a really good hand-to-hand option, not only for early monk and pups, but you can also use it for oddball jobs like ninja or dancer.
Even if you don't have the finished weapon, the Kaja stage, which is the second to last stage, is still really good for each one. It'll help you get the pulse weapon that you need to get that final stage.
For sure.
Yeah, the Kaja weapons, I mean, they all pretty much have a use, so I would recommend to everybody to just build up these Kaja weapons and try them out, see how it works for you. We didn't even mention the dagger, which is really good for evisceration and other jobs that want to throw a dagger into their build. So, I mean, they come with a lot of damage on them, a lot of accuracy. So, definitely check them out.
Yeah, and they're all unique in the additional effects that they provide as well too. Like you were talking about with the dagger, I use it on Corsair to increase my critical hit rate. So there's also those options as well too. I know some people will use Nagling because it says the more buffs that you have, the higher your attack is raised. So some people will just will use that to help with their PDIF modifiers as well too.
Any of these terms you're talking about, just search them in BG. Like if you don't want to know what PDIF is, type in PDIF. You can be enlightened on what it means.
Yes, I do apologize for that.
Yes.
Even type in ambuscade weapons, you can see a link to every single one we're talking about, like the Kaja weapons that we just mentioned.
I think I type in something in BG all the time as far as like ambuscade armor or ambuscade capes, or it kind of gives you a breakdown on the capes of everything you can put on these capes and all the different. I mean, I probably have just an entire wardrobe full of capes, and the vast majority of these are ambuscade capes for different jobs that I play. Pretty much every single job in the game is going to at least make 2 or 3 ambuscade capes.
The good thing about the capes is that the augments are basically infinite. Like you can have so many different capes because the augments are what basically makes the cape. The base stats are just there just for show, and lots of them are useful, of course, but you can make like a melee cape that has bunch of dex, bunch of strength, accuracy, everything you can imagine, weapon skill damage for like a bard. That turns into their best melee cape for weapon skills, and even TPing.
Yeah, and what's amazing about the infinite different combinations is whether you use equip sets inside Final Fantasy XI or you use Gear Swap, you can have certain capes be used in certain builds. So, like with myself on Corsair, I have 8 different capes alone just for that one job. So don't feel like you can only make one cape and one cape alone.
Yeah, you've got your weapon skill capes, you've got your TP capes, you've got fast cast, you've got healing magic. I mean, you can do infinite amount of things, and you can even get kind of crafty with some of the capes and do oddball stuff. Like, I personally love my cape for Paladin that has occasionally resist status ailments on it, because I have a lot of
I
that.
thought it was your counter.
I do really love my counter sets that I've been building, but just all the different things you can do with these capes where you just take it, dare I say, to the next level of just really understanding your job and doing cool things with it. I enjoyed my magic attack bonus on Paladin as well to get some cool Divine Emblem Holy 2s when I'm just messing around. So there's a lot of different things you can do.
There's also the Unity mobs that you can start participating in with Unity accolades. You can start off in the Wanted 1 category and see on BG Wiki just typing in Unity and seeing all the different mobs. Then if you do Unity rewards, you can see all the different drops. And eventually, once you get into Odyssey, you can see all the different augments with either scale, hides, or wings for each of those items as well, too.
Yeah, the Unity system is basically a flashback back to the 75 cap days where all the NMs are hyperdrove into the 119 era. So like you can fight Leaping Lizzie, and now it's called Berlinding Bertha or something, and it traps a higher level feat instead of the Leaping Boots. As an example, that's like level 99, but there are higher level ones as well.
Yeah, the Valkyrie Emperor.
Like we have a new Valkyrie Emperor. We have a new mod that dropped a new Droyus.
I like that sword.
Bakanawa, yeah. That Demersal Deegan is actually really good, even augmented later on down the road too. It can be used as an offhand weapon, or some people use it on Red Mage because of their end spell damage increase from it. So definitely don't just push it aside because they're hyped up mobs. The augment system through Odyssey definitely does enhance all the pieces that come from Unity as well.
Every +1 piece can be enhanced and augmented through Odyssey as well.
Yeah, there's been some really cool accessories added. I mean, the Warder's Charm, of course, is a big one that everybody likes. I love the other neck piece. Dude, I am just so bad at names today. The neck that gives plus 200 HP and enmity that I just can't even put I need to have my game in front of me so I can stop remembering or forgetting every name of every item in the game.
The Unmoving Collar one?
Yeah.
No, that's the Enmity one. That doesn't have HP on it. But is that the one you're thinking of? The one that has Enmity 10 and Resist Charm?
Yeah, Unmoving +1. It has 200 HP once you get the augment on it.
Ah, gotcha.
So, I mean, there's all these, and the Horus Cape +1 is actually really cool. I just recently made that one, and that one's really nice.
Also, there's some really good starter items in Esha Zeta on those base mobs which you might be getting capacity points off of, but you can spawn different NMs and also use those equipments to kind of build yourself up as well too. And those pieces can be augmented by Nolan with Esha elixirs, or Esha elixirs +1, +2.
Which you also get for doing the content.
Yep. And you can find all those augments on BG Wiki if you look up Nolan. Yay, BG Wiki!
But yeah, once you start getting into the Esha zones, one of the things that we haven't mentioned is domain invasion. Your daily dragon is something that you should definitely take part in and make sure that a lot of the domain invasion gear that you get for doing the daily dragon is just really important stuff.
And don't be discouraged if you die doing domain invasion, saying if you don't have high enough gear in order to do it, because you still, as long as you've entered the fight and you've participated even a little bit, you do still get credit for participation. So you can still get your daily points in regards to spending those. I'm trying to remember. See, now I'm blanking on the NPC you trade those points into. He's in Norg and he stands next to Nolan and Osim, kind of near the stairs in the center of Norg.
You know what? I need to pull up BG Wiki.
I already did. It's Zerum.
Thank you so much, Funk. But they have some really nice equipment through there. One of them being the Sanctity Necklace. It's a really nice accuracy piece, as well as it also provides magic accuracy as well too, and magic attack bonus for the mages as well.
There are some pretty good starting weapons there too. Actually, level 119. It's called the Voluspa sets.
Yeah, they're not even that expensive.
Like one of each weapon, pretty much. Yeah, they're not at all. It's 80 points. That's basically one day's worth of work.
Yeah, you can get up to 100 domain points a day. And then while you're doing this, you're also getting beads, which leads into the other point of the Escher zones, which is doing Aeonic weapons, which Rima's is kind of the last thing that we discuss with this, because the main point of going from 99 to 119 is just getting all this gear, understanding the concept of the game, and understanding how all of these different items come together and form one character and one job.
Yeah, and even speaking about Escher zones, it's like once you start being through all the mobs in Escher Zeta, you're moving over to Escher Ruan or Ryzen Jima, or if you're in a link shell or even doing pug shouts, getting more equipment from those that, if they're from Escher Ruan, can also be augmented from Nolan, and then going into Ryzen Jima, you have those augments through Osim. And when there's the Dark Matter campaign, which sadly is not going on right now, you can trade in gear from Ryzen Jima to gain Dark Matter augments without actually trading him any Dark Matter.
Osim is not my friend.
I hear you really need that Phalanx still.
Yep, straight to the heart as usual.
It's okay, I need it too. I have to get it on my Herculean for Rune Fencer, and then Herculean for...
You're right.
I was right. Herculean for Rune Fencer, and then Odyssean for my Paladin. And potentially Warrior. I'm looking into a Phalanx build for Warrior.
Hey.
It's going to be interesting. Actually, it'll be similar to my Paladin, so it won't be that interesting. And then as you progress through the storyline for Rhapsodies of Vana'diel, you'll eventually be able to gain access to the event Omen, which will allow you to upgrade your AF to +2/+3. And also gain some really cool accessories from Omen, because there's a lot of good accessories from Omen.
Yeah, I mean, Escher Ruan, Ryzen Jima, we kind of like breeze past it, but there's a lot of really strong gear still in Escher Ruan to this day. I mean, I know a lot of people still use the Telos earring. It's still a really strong piece, and even some of the abjuration gear. I mean, anybody who's played Final Fantasy XI for a while knows that abjurations are still a thing in this game, and some of the abjuration gear is still great for macro pieces. I think I still use most of my sovereign pieces on Paladin in some sort in my macro.
That's true. I did breeze by it, and I do apologize for that, because one of the other pieces that's also really nice doesn't even come from a spawnable NM, or I guess I should say a poppable NM in Escher Ruan. It's from actually the Promi mobs. You can do lottery spawn and get them to drop different torques, and then you can find a synergist that can merge 3 torques together to make a Incanter's torque, which is really good for mage classes. And then there's all the warders that were basically all the jailers in C are now warders in Escher Ruan, and they drop different torques as well that can be combined into a combatant's torque.
Love does not love me.
Love does not love you. It doesn't love me either.
Yeah, it's crazy how much content they recycled from the 75 days to...
I was so excited the first time I entered Escher Ruan. I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. It was like sky meets sea, and here you go, and the dolphins start following you around, and I loved it. I thought it was so much fun.
It's not a bad thing either. It's kind of cool just to have stronger mobs that you used to fight.
You know, when I saw Warder of Courage and got all excited, I was like, I'm going to fight and beat AV. I'm going to beat him finally. Because I didn't do that back in the 75 days.
No, can't say I ever beat AV. Sad tips.
AV being absolute virtue, by the way. I apologize. I was abbreviating there.
Also, we mentioned finishing all your storyline missions, but once you finish Rhapsodies of Vanadil, don't forget to go visit our good friend Oboro to make some of these weapons that he gives. Not Odoro, Oboro. But some of them still, even now, are just really, really good. I mean, I still like the Terpander for Bard because it gives DT for an idle set. The Priwin is just a fantastic shield for Paladin.
If you type GSE weapons in BG, you can see the whole list of all these weapons.
Yeah, Ader's really good for Rune Fencer. It's pretty much your main weapon until you get Epio. Dunna's really good for Geo. That one.
Geomancer. Then you also have Sangdun that's really good for Thief because when it also is an upgraded treasure hunter weapon, but it does provide a lot of accuracy when you're able to augment it as well too.
Yeah, Trepander gives an additional song effect. So right off the bat, you can, just almost off the bat, you can have 3 songs for Bard already.
Yeah, the Trepander is a really good pickup. I mean, not all of them are just amazing, but most of them have a good enough reason to pick these up, and it gets you a good start. The Summoner one, I think, is pretty good too, Gridorver. Once you get the augments on it and stuff like that. And they may take a little bit to get the augments, but it's a great starting weapon for you just to get that opening stuff. So moving into the next event, we have the good old world of Omen. And we've done an Omen episode, so we won't go too deep into this, but this is one of the things that you probably want to get a group for. Find a link shell that does Omen. You're getting cards, you're getting drops. The cards are available to upgrade your artifact armor to +2/+3. And then just all the gear that comes from Omen is very, very, I mean, the body pieces are still coveted to this day. Just all the different drops that come from Omen are really, really good. I mean, you look at the drops from OU, the Regal Gauntlets, the Regal Necklace for Corsair, the Regal Gem for Red Mage, Regal Earrings really good, Regal Rings good for every job that can use it. I mean, there's a lot of great gear once you can start doing these Omen runs with a group and with people.
And you can technically solo Omen. You will only get cards on the job you go in as, but some people do use soloing Omen in order to get the astrals that drop, because you can sell those astrals to also help pay for other equipment. Like say you got the abjurations from Esha Ruan, you can use astrals to help pay for those cursed items to upgrade your abjurations too.
And also use Trust to help you get through if you're soloing and you're not fully geared up yet.
You can exchange your cards, but it's a horrible ratio. It's like 10-1. It's just bad. But if you do get enough deeds, you can get a whole +2 set for free if you're doing monthly deeds. It takes about a year though.
Heck yeah. But if you're one of those people that has one job and plays that only one job in every single Omen run you go to for the rest of your life, then you could have 17 stacks of Bard cards or something.
Do you have 17 stacks of Bard cards?
I don't, actually.
Sound like you did.
I have I had almost 17 stacks of Geo cards, and then I decided to start a new job on Ava, so I took all of the Geo cards I had and did the 10-1 conversion rate. I was able to +2 everything. I was very surprised.
Things like the cards can be sent to your mule if you don't want to hold on to them. So if you search it in BG, it'll have a flag that says "can send a POL." That means you can send it to your a character in the same account. Lots of different Rex items can do that, even if they're augmentable these days.
And then there was actually one event that I realized we forgot to mention, and that was after completing Seekers of Adulin, you get access to Sinister Rain, which is also a really nice one that you could go in and get some pieces that are actually still viable to this day as well too. I know I still use, I'm blanking on them right now. They're from Theodore. I could tell you they're from Theodore. They're Somonitites. There we go. They're my TP pants on a lot of jobs. They're amazing because they have both double attack and triple attack once fully augmented. It is a luck-based system, but it's definitely something that you can keep working towards as well too.
Yeah, it's luck if you get the actual item because it comes from a pool. It's luck if you get the NPC that you fight against. And it's luck for the augment too.
But you can get different trusts from there as well too. But I know you can also get those same trusts through one of the trust missions to get the archangels, if I remember correctly as well.
Sinister Rain.
And these items are not rare. So if you do decide to have a binge on Sinister Rain, just get an item if you don't want anything else. You can trade it into the Amen Reclaimer, and it'll help you get towards next copper voucher.
Copper vouchers are amazing. They can be used for many different things. You can either trade them into any conquest currency, so whether that be conquest points, allied notes, imperial standing, or you can use them to give you more sparks or unity accolades if you're running low on those and need to purchase something like a capacity ring.
We also never mentioned incursion for the lovely JP capes that can come from there.
I need to do more of that. I didn't do much incursion.
What are you stuck with, Funk?
Yeah, I just actually helped.
I wanted to get the 2 high-level titles.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you had like a 42% capacity point cape or something.
I think I have like 47, but I don't really care about that. I just want the titles.
I actually just helped somebody recently on when we were streaming on Twitch do incursion, and they ended up with a 47% capacity cape. But I need to also level up because I think mine's only like 127. It's still really low because I believe it caps at 143. So I have a long ways to go on leveling that up.
Moral of the story is there's a lot of things to do and a lot of different events that you can really get involved in to just play the game however you want to play it. I mean, we haven't even really made it to what the actual, I guess, definition now of endgame is. And there's all these different things to do even before you get there. So don't be overwhelmed by it, but at the same time, embrace all the different things that you can do with this game and make it your own.
And try not to get intimidated by other players. I know that's one of the big things I hear about on Asura is they'll see somebody decked out in full Odyssey, fully augmented, and they're just like, I will never reach that level. I literally just started yesterday. And you'd be surprised at how fast you can actually get your character geared up in regards to the content that's available. SE really does kind of stepstone all of the content for you to kind of help you be able to get up to that level.
Yeah, moving into like kind of the closest point to endgame would be Dynamis Divergence. That's one of the bigger it used to be alliance based, but now you can definitely go in with even 3 to 6 people, and just do whatever with it. I mean, 6 strong players now can farm Dynamis Divergence without any problems, but it's one of those things that you have to do to get your unlocks for Relic +2 +3, getting the wins on that, as well as opening up the eventual R15s on weapons, getting your Wave 3 clears. So Dynamis Divergence is definitely something fun to do.
Yeah, and it's also one of those events where if you're not quite ready for it, it can kind of take you by surprise because there's different mechanics on the stones and how the mobs are treated in each of them. So definitely something to look up when you're wanting to do Dynamis Divergence. Go to BG Wiki, do Dynamis Divergence, and they literally have a section of what each color eye does in regards to the mobs that spawn afterwards. And then down to the current, I guess, term for end game content would be Odyssey. It is one of the harder contents, especially as you get higher in the vengeance levels of the NMs in regards to spending your segments to fight for the other equipment and then to augment.
But also
them
don't
too.
be scared away from Odyssey, because even if you're starting out as a new group, when you start farming segments and you start like actually getting involved in Odyssey and stuff like that, the V0 clears are not really that high of a breakpoint. The accuracy check in Odyssey is pretty low. There's a lot of strategies about Odyssey right now, so it's pretty easy to set up a strong group for Odyssey and start getting these wins and start clearing all the way up to the final Bumba. Even at V0, once you start picking up these gear sets from the tier 3s and the tier 4s, and even some of the tier 1s and tier 2s have great pieces of gear, you're going to start getting, I guess, beefier and be able to be safer in what you're doing. So Odyssey is definitely the break point right now, to where you step into this new realm of endgame, to where you really start understanding the macro of the game, of where you need to be not so much turtled up, but at least be stronger, to where an AoE move isn't going to one-shot you like it sometimes can in Dynamis Divergence.
I do like the Odyssey reward system. Instead of going endless runs hoping to get a drop, you can just buy it after you get the win.
Yeah, I do definitely like that as well too. So that way you at least have immediate access to these pieces of equipment, with even just on their own with their base stats, can be really beneficial for players as well too. And then once you're able to start doing the higher ones, you can start augmenting them, and then it'll add even more layers of benefits to your party as well too, or to the specific job you're playing.
Yeah, Odyssey has really brought a new kind of just way that we look at hybrid sets and different ways to go about the game, where you're just safer, you're more involved, and you're really optimizing everything that a job can do.
And like we were talking about before, you also have all of the Unity mobs and equipment that you were getting previously, that once you start doing Shoal A, B, or C and getting the scale hides and feathers, you can then augment those pieces, which may surpass some of the other pieces that you were using previously.
Yeah, Odyssey really has a lot as far as what it can do for a player. It's really taken the game just to a different avenue of really just a lot of different ways to look at each job and what they can do. I mean, with jail taking away our sub jobs, it's kind of opened up a whole lot of jobs that really weren't looked at as viable and things like that. And now all of a sudden, all these jobs have to be viable, because we're running out of combinations, and we need the different buffs that we don't get from sub jobs, and we don't get jobs that can do two different things anymore. They're just doing what they're specializing in.
One thing I recommend if you're a new player and haven't done Odyssey before, make sure you do the ROE for Odyssey, so you can unlock Shoal A, B, and C. And then within each one, there are teleports, but I don't believe groups really use teleports. I could be wrong on that, but mine does not.
I know I used a lot of the teleports in the very beginning with Shoal A and B, especially with farming scales and hides, even just trying to solo to build those up as well too, to sell. The teleports are really nice just to get around very quickly. So if you happen to see them, I would recommend touching them, so that way you just have access to them.
Yeah, the Muglophone is the key item that's used to enter, and it's reset every 21 hours. You can obtain a key item, and as of recording this, you can hold one, and the Moogle can hold one for you. So the maximum you can do is 2 runs every 2 days, basically. If you do join a group, most of the time people do 2 farming runs anyway. So be sure to always have one on you, so the Moogle can have one stored for you.
Yeah, the Odyssey groups are a lot of fun, and it just really tests you and puts you to this limit of where you start really, really getting the grasp of what's going on. I mean, I've always been a player that looks towards the end game and wants to see what that's all about. And if the end game isn't there, then why am I really playing this game? What am I working towards? And they've done a great job. I wasn't the biggest fan of Odyssey when it first came out. I thought it limited us a lot more than I see that it does now. And honestly, now I see where they're trying to just make all these other jobs shine a little bit more.
I also like the fact that they do kind of limit you on not being able to duplicate jobs, so that way you can use a variety of jobs. I know that's one concern that people have. They're like, well, I leveled Beastmaster, but nobody wants Beastmasters in party. But just the other day, like we were talking about before, we utilized a Beastmaster in one of our higher end NMs and being able to put the defense down with the slug, and it worked out amazingly. So don't just think that you're leveling a job and it's never going to get used, because you just never know.
Especially for Killer Instinct stuff. Like, Killer Instinct is a huge buff, and it's really influential in these higher Odyssey jail fights.
Yeah, I was going to say that Odyssey came out over multiple updates, and we didn't really pay much attention to it until the actual bosses came out. Even the bosses were multiple updates. But it's not something to mock at. You get lots of gil at the farming. I mean, I've gotten up to 900k for one farming run by touching the end thing after you do all the mobs, after you kill them all.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically 1 million a day. Pretty easy.
Much.
Pretty easy, 1 million gil for just going and doing content you already need to do. I mean, this is, of course, don't feel like when you start out doing Odyssey that you should be getting 1 million gil. This is a very optimized farm run as you go, but even touching the end as a starting out farm group in Shale C, you're still going to get 200, 300k a person. I mean, that's still a large amount of gil for doing content that you have to do anyway. You need to do this content.
And you can bank your segments. So every run you join, you eventually will get to the bosses. It's just you have to get lots of Moogle segments, which you'll get every single time you go. It's always worth doing it when you have one up and you see a shout.
Does Moogle Mastery affect your master rank or whatever rank you're going for, Funk?
I do not know that. Mine's like 15 or something like that. So mastery rank is basically the EP rank. It judges all of your accomplishments in the game, like all the quests you've done, all the records of eminence you've done, all the job points you've earned. And you can see it if you go to status profile. I'm still rank 7. I'm almost to 8. But I do know Monstrosity has a big deal with it, so that's probably what I'm going to focus on next.
Nice.
I know very little about Monstrosity. Even though I have somebody that does Monstrosity all the time, I'm still like, I know you turn into monsters. I know you could scare people with them. That's about all I know.
Yeah, you can sit outside of Eastern Round Farm next to the entrance. People walk out and see a big old sandworm sitting there. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of mastery rank, I'm only rank 6, but I haven't done a lot of the records of eminence. I mean, I haven't done even enough to get the mentor status in this game, because I know that's one of the requirements, is having done so many of the records of eminence too.
They did change that recently. It used to be like a certain amount of playtime, something silly like 24 hours or something, and you could get the mentor.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to double check then, because I know I tried to go for it once when it was originally changed over, and I was like, I should have all the requirements, and I looked further into it, and I was just missing the records of eminence portion, and I was like, I'll get it eventually. Like, I'll get all my coalitions.
It used to be just playtime, I think. Now they changed it to have lots of records of eminence requirements. So basically, they erased everyone who had mentor, and now you need certain requirements before you can even be a mentor now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's a specific Records of Eminence quest that becomes available once you've done certain objectives within Records of Eminence. And if you go to Mentor in BG Wiki, they actually talk about those requirements on there as well too, for those that are wanting to become mentors and be able to talk in the assist channel.
As a disclaimer, that page's not done yet. I haven't gotten to that yet. Some
Oh,
of it is
no.
done, yeah, but it's not fully done. But so you can go to mentor and you can see the requirements, I believe.
Yes, I see the requirements at least here.
See, this is really cool to me. Just like even us that have played the game for as long as we have all played the game, who knows how many years we all have combined on this game, there's still stuff to do, even as long as we've played.
Yeah, just recently I was going through Abyssia. There's so many different quests I haven't done there, and like you have all the random things you could do in there and all the NM titles, and it's just ongoing.
And anytime I meet somebody that asks me about the game or like ask me why I've played so long, they're like, "Haven't you beat the game by now?" I'm like, "Good lord, I don't even know what beating the game means on this game."
There is a new feature that we didn't mention that has to do with the assist channel and the mentor status. New players have limited access, very very limited time. So your main job has to be, it can be level 1, but you only have a certain amount of hours that you can actually talk in the channel. If you type in /AE, that stands for Assist English. You can type in there, and other mentors can reply back to you. If you have any questions, they can definitely help you with that. But if you have questions and people aren't answering them, just try to search BG for it. But it's just an in-game mentor chat.
Yep, you can also, if you're using a keyboard, you can hit Control Q to get to the English assist channel, and it's Alt Q in order to get to the Japanese assist channel. There are people that talk English in both channels sometimes, so if you accidentally type in the Japanese one on accident, there'll still be somebody there to help you out.
I think you have to be in the city for that to work. I'm not sure if you can be out adventuring, which is kind of silly.
I think I've seen the assist channel while being out, but I'll have to double check.
It's
So
possible they
I
changed
will
it,
get back to that.
but the requirement's really silly. They should
Yeah.
really make it so people can talk in there a lot longer. Because I think it's something silly like 4 days, which means like 72 hours or something. So after you play for 72 hours, you can no longer talk in it, which is just ridiculous.
I do know it's 72 consecutive hours. So if you log in one day and you're only on for like 2 days, and it'll only take off 2 hours
Yeah.
off of the assist channel. So don't think that, oh, I only have 3 days worth of time or 4 days worth of time in order to talk in this. No, it can spread out for a long, like a month-long period, depending on just how much you play during your time.
Yes, if you have an emergency, you have to go walk away from your desk for a little bit. You basically are using your timer, but hopefully they change that later on because people level fast these days, but they don't know everything that quickly.
Yeah, there's a whole lot to learn in this game. I mean, I've probably learned 3 or 4 things today alone. So,
Yeah, well, once you're a mentor, you can talk as much as you want. It's just the newer players only have a certain amount of time, which makes no sense. Maybe someday they'll change
yeah,
it.
that seems kind of silly.
You can also give people ratings on how they answered your question. If you feel like it was useful, you can give them a thumbs up, which can change their flags next to their name. Or if you feel like it wasn't helpful, you can give them basically a thumbs down on their review. How to do it, I don't remember. I just know that's an option to be able to say, like this person didn't really help, and it'll decrease their points towards their flags.
To do that, you expand your chat log by pushing the plus and then enter. Then the chat log gets big. Then you can go up and down. You find a message. You click the message. A little box will appear in the right, and you can click thumbs up.
There you go.
There's also a way to tell people these days. So if you want to give someone a tell, you can do the same thing. You can click their name, and then that little box comes up. Like if they type a message in Link Shell or to you or whatever into party chat, you can tell them that way without having to type their name.
I do know a lot of people that don't have mentor status will still have the assist channel available in their chat log. And you will, if you even ask a question in the assist channel, you will get some people sending you tells with answers as well too, just because they can't respond back into the assist channel.
Oh, but they can read it, yeah.
Yeah.
Or they don't know how to reply.
I'm one of those people that can't respond back, so I send tells. So you may get a tell from me at some point if you type in the assist channel on Asura.
I mean, there's also a lot of forums as well. Of like if you go onto Reddit and things like that, or FFXIAH, a lot of these community-based forums, you can ask questions for newer players. I think they have newer player specific forums for that stuff. So there's a lot of people in this community that are willing to help.
I recommend joining Discord channels. There's a couple active Discord channels. Like the Reddit Discord is pretty active. The BG Discord is active to ask random questions. The Final Fantasy Auction, ffxiah.com is good. There's some random question threads. You just don't want to make one thread about silly questions. You just don't want to spam it and do that kind of thing. Just find a topic and reply to that. Like there's job forums you can reply to. There's general chat where I always have an update thread every month. If you want to talk about the update, reply to that thread instead of making a new one, just so discussion can be condensed down.
Yeah, and for the most part, probably someone has asked the same question that you have that you're looking for, so you can look through these forums and kind of find that information and hopefully find the answer you're looking for because somebody's already asked the question.
And sometimes when I'm looking to see if anybody's done a certain build or a certain style on a job, I'll go to the job-specific forums. And while the main page of the main forum for that job may not be updated, you can sometimes go towards the end of the actual thread and see a lot of people talking about their gear sets or talking about what they're working on or utilizing their jobs for, and get kind of an idea of what gear they're utilizing nowadays as well, too.
And rounding out our 99 to 119 guide are the all-coveted, the all-wonderful Riemann Weapons. I mean, if you don't know what Riemann stands for, of course it's Relic, Empyrean, Mythic, and Aeonic weapons. So these are all different, like, legendary weapons. You can search, of course, all of these on BG. You can search Relic weapons, you can search Empyrean weapons, you can search Mythic weapons, you can search Aeonic weapons, and it's going to give you how to make these, how to go about them, stuff like that. And we wanted to put this at the bottom just so that people didn't stress about not having a Riemann weapon when you're joining content, because there's lots of weapons as you go through this that can perform just as well with the right gear sets as a Riemann weapon.
They are very much stretch goals. So like we mentioned, don't stretch yourself out to get one. It's something to work towards, like a long-term goal to grind a little bit every day, log into a couple tasks that are required for it, and move about your day instead of doing it all at once.
Yeah, I remember I used to have a joke for the longest time, is I would know a few summoners that would have Nirvana, which is the mythic for summoners specifically. And my summoner that didn't have Nirvana was out parsing some of these mythic weapon users with just basic Ryzen Jima gear and my AF and Relic, because of understanding the job and the gear and how it's being proposed. When these people were just like, I need a mythic because everybody says, oh, we need a mythic summoner. And it's not always the case. So that's why, again, as Funk and Car mentioned, you can wait on making these. And once you've been able to utilize everything, you can work towards them slowly and be able to progress on them.
A lot of with Rimas is just the fun you can do with them. The cool lock styles you can do with them, the cool afterglows you can put on them, stuff like that. At the end of the day, it's really about how you want to play the game and how you work around these Rimas. But if you get the understanding of all the gear that you've picked up along the way before you get to these Rimas, you're going to be able to utilize them a lot better than somebody who just goes straight to the Rima and then they don't have all of the necessary gear to support these R15 weapons, and all of a sudden you get a person who thinks they have the final thing, and they just explode because there's nothing to support it, and there's no background behind what they're doing, and they really don't understand why they built this weapon and what they can do with it. So take your time, enjoy the game. Don't just rush to these Rima weapons. This game isn't a race to the finish. It's a grind. I mean, it's always been a grind. It's less of a grind than it was, but the game has always been about what you put into it and what you get out is what you do.
Even when you're leveling, there is no reason to race to 99. Just take your time, play with some quests, do your AF, level up different jobs, multiple different jobs. I just have fun. There's no reason to just be 99 because you're going to be realizing you're going to be burnt out. You're going to be looking for a group. You're going to be like, oh, I can't get a group for Ambuscade. What am I supposed to do now? I'm just wandering, walking around the zone, doing nothing. There's like 22 jobs you can level and play with.
Yeah, and a lot of Odyssey groups really want you to have at least 3 jobs, because if you do ×3 farms, you need 3 different jobs that are unique to what everybody else in your group has to be able to do these contents. So try a new job, try a new sub-job, try a different combination of jobs, find out what you like in this game, and make this game exactly what you want it to be. It's a great time to get involved with this game, is even though it's a 20-year-old game, and we keep stressing this, but there's still so much to do, and it's still a great time to get involved with it.
Yeah, and plus you never know, you might end up liking a job that you didn't think you'd be interested in all just by trying all the different jobs out as well too.
So I hope this podcast or these guides or any of the guides, even if you don't listen to this and you just listen to the first 15 minutes of this and decide to go on BG and read a bunch of guides on there, because BG is wonderful, and this podcast has been brought to you by the wide world of BG. But I mean, all of our experiences have been influenced by other content creators and other people that have influenced this game, and that's what BG is about. So take the time, learn about it. I hope this helps you. If you need help in Asura and you want to join our link shell, you're more than welcome to. Just send a tell to me or to Claire. We're both available at any time to get involved. If you're on Self, bug that Funk guy. I'm sure he doesn't mind.
Yeah, if you're on Self, if you want a quieter place to be, I can get you a roller pass. No big deal. Hopping over here, you have some empty zones just to wander around in and not have any competition. There's no half-hour waits for Odyssey when you eventually get there.
That was pretty nice, honestly.
Yeah, I would not know what I would do if I had to wait half an hour or more between runs. That's just crazy to me.
You've probably never waited in the long and unpleasant Omen lines of Asura when the card campaign is going on.
No, I think the longest I've waited for either like high-tier Battlefield or Ambuscade or something like that was probably 3-4 minutes.
Holy crap. When the card campaigns happen in Asura, the lines for Omen are like, I mean, I think we've waited over an hour before.
I think I heard you mention that. For new players, they did do a queue system now. So instead of having to click and continuously try to get into a BC, besides Shinryu, that's a different story, you basically get added in a tier, like a waiting system, like a line pretty much. So you go ahead and click it, your party leader gets a sound after he's ready to go in. You basically can go in instead of having to sit there and compete with each other. Because I remember in Limbus, if you went to the Limbus and you had to get a certain path, you had to sit there and hopefully get in before the group next to you.
Oh, I remember those days. And what's nice about the queue system in regards to Asura with the long Omen waits is that you can go and do domain invasion or go spawn mobs or just go out and kill the mobs right outside one of the portals. While you wait, you don't have to sit at number 10 and wait for the ping to go off. Your leader will still get the ping regardless if they're at that area.
Yeah, I think we cleared about 5 or 6 Psionic or Reisenjima tier 3 mobs while we were waiting for Omen to pop one day. That was kind of fun. So there's other things you can do.
That's a good tip. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we were trying to experiment with it once because we weren't 100% sure. We're like, well, if we get kicked out of the queue, at least we made progress somewhere else. And then Karm was the leader, and he's like, it's dinging. Guys, we're in the middle of a fight. We need to finish this fight quickly.
Yeah, I think we were at like Conflux 4 at that pop site up on the hill, and I'm like, it just said Omen's ready, so let's finish this and go back.
Did you say domain invasion works?
Yeah, you can also do it in domain invasion too.
That's cool.
Yeah, so definitely helpful trip for those who are sitting in the Omen line and you realize there's a lot of pages in front of you if you just want something to go do while you're waiting in line too.
Yeah, Ambuscade's not usually too bad on Asura, but there's been some long high tier battlefields like for Lilith or those ones that have in the Selbina. And then there's been some long omen lines. So there's always something to do. There's always something to be involved in.
Well, that was me. I would go to Conflicts number 2 and fish that stupid frog NM out of those little dark orbs to get my exemplar staff.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That thing's so annoying with all the aggro next to you. Ugh.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, I leveled up fishing recently to go try and do that and to get a couple of the other cooking items that you can get from Ryzen Jima, and I'm like, this is such a pain.
Funk, you have really taken the side quests and the extra things to do in this game, dare I say, to the next level. It's not going to get old.
I'm wondering if pancreation has anything to do with that. I don't feel like dealing with that.
Well, pancreation's so much fun. I probably have so many experience in pancreation. I did that so much during the 75 era.
One thing that's a shame is we do know titles do affect it, and it's kind of difficult or impossible to get ballista titles these days. On Sylph, anyway.
I was going to say, on Asura, there is a ballista LS that you can join, and they do ballista weekly. So if you need those titles for your mastery rank,
that's like 22 titles or more than 22, but like 25 titles from there.
Good old PvP. Never been a huge thing in this game, but it's definitely available.
For sure.
Did you know there's Monstrosity Pvp?
Oh, yes.
Is there really?
You can sign up as a gladiator, I think it's what it's called. You can fight the monsters. Unfortunately, it's a pretty failed system, and not many people are going to be sitting there waiting for you to come fight them.
Wait, I actually think I remember doing that once. It was like right around the time I came back with Joe, and we were like, let's try this out. And it was, like you said, not the greatest experience.
Was it on purpose? Yeah, it was on purpose, right? You weren't just walking through there and got annihilated?
Yeah, we actually were trying to do the content.
Oh, okay.
But I want to say thank you, Funk, for joining us today on this episode. We really do appreciate all the all of the information that you've provided in this podcast episode as well.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I was hoping I could definitely contribute. It seems like I did.
For sure, I think so.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I probably learned 4 or 5 things just sitting here listening to you guys talk.
Yeah, so. I at least taught you a couple things, yeah.
But we hope we also...
Funk's the mastermind.
But we also hope that we helped you guys that are listening as well, too, in regards to this episode. Now, don't take everything we say and just, like, dead hard go straight and follow everything to a T. Figure out your own path. All of this content is available. Like Funk has brought up multiple times, everything is available on BG Wiki for you to be able to review. So that way you can take everything at your own pace. You don't have to rush through this content at all.
If there's any questions you have about what we said, just join the Discord here and we can go into more detail and explain some more things.
For sure.
Yeah. Feel free to look us up on YouTube. Feel free to watch our Twitch streams. Funk also streams on Twitch. He does all of the monthly updates and things like that and really breaks that down to a point where we can all understand it a little better, and he's kind of the mastermind of all that. So twitch.tv/Funkworkz, twitch.tv/NextLevelPC, all these different... Feel free to check us out. We've got a lot of things going on. We're here to help. We want to be involved in the community.
We post tips of the weeks every Wednesday as well, too, on our YouTube channel, so you guys could take a look at those to see if they also help you out. They're more directed towards new and returning players, but we do also lean some of them for the veteran players on some of the endgame content as well, too.
With that, our shameless plugs are over, and I will say farewell to you all. Thank you again, Funk, for being here.
Yes, for sure.
You're welcome.
Thank you again. And I hope everybody has a great night or great day, depending on what time you're listening to this. Have a good one. Bye-bye.